So I decided to draw this still life of lemons, and I'm using a viewfinder even though you can't see it. After I established the composition, I started looking at the broad value areas. That would be the very dark background, the very light lemons, and the grays that you can see on the basket and underneath the lemons closest to you. So I was thinking of this as a black, gray, white composition, and I devoted my first 5 minutes to establishing that. That's what you see here. After that, I started to focus on the relationships within those broad value areas. For example, those very light lemons, yes, their values are a very light gray or white. So I covered each lemon in a very light gray, thinking that I would pull out the highlights later with a kneaded eraser. So I'm just making the grays as uniform as possible to go back and pull out the lights. And this took some time because the paper was terrible. Then after I did that, I looked at the value relationships within the other broad value areas. That would be the darks all around the lemons. And you see that's a black cloth. So mostly darks there in the background, also inside the basket. And this took time because it's the biggest area in the whole composition. Then I started doing revisions. This is towards the end of the drawing. I found that I had emphasized line too much, and it sort of broke the illusion, so I went back to it and corrected that by making this shadow area more prominent and just smudging the whole thing. Basically, I got rid of that annoying line. And here you see me pulling out highlights. It's not very clear in the video, but I did pull out a lot of charcoal from the lighter parts of the lemons. So that's what I mean by minding those very subtle relationships towards the second half or the end of your drawing, not at the very beginning. At the beginning, what you want to do is posterize, think of in terms of very few values. And then you can pay attention to the more complex relationships within each area. At least that's how I think about it. And it makes it a lot simpler. So at times I would pull out too much and I would go back and darken it. This paper may have been bad, but it let me do a lot of work. So the only lines in this composition was inside the basket. You could see these two dark lines with the curvature of the bottom. Notice how I also pulled out highlights in the black cloth. And now I am making sure that there's a distinct difference between the values underneath the lemons because there's two sources of light. And here it is. I hope this was helpful. Thank you.